Now, when we take a closer look at the business process or the series of activities that are followed to rent this equipment, we learn that the site engineers kick off the rental process by completing what's called an equipment rental request form, indicating the specialized equipment that is needed to do the job at the construction site. The completed form is emailed to the clerks or the administrators who are located at the company's depot. Upon receipt, the clerk or the administrator checks the catalog from the list of available equipment suppliers and selects the most effective option matching that request. Next, the clerk checks availability of chosen equipment with the supplier. This is done telephonically or via email. If it so happens that the requested equipment isn't available for the required period, an alternative supplier is then selected until the required equipment is found. We also learn that each rental request has to be approved by the works engineer. Think about this person as the supervisor who is stationed at the depot. Now, it is possible that the works engineer may decline the rental order request, which in turn cancels the request. The works engineer will then review and amend the rental request accordingly, for example, cheaper equipment or more appropriate equipment that can be identified and so on. In such cases, the clerk needs to investigate availability of the equipment. If the works engineer approves the rental request, the clerk then sends a confirmation to the supplier, including a purchase order for the rental request. This purchase order or PO is generated by BuildIT's financial information system, which is based on the information entered by the clerk. The same details are entered into a monitoring or a tracking spreadsheet. It can happen that in the meantime, the engineer may no longer need the equipment. In this case, the engineer informs the clerk to cancel the rental request. After some time, the supplier delivers the rented equipment to the construction site, which is checked or inspected upon arrival. If the equipment is received in good order, it is accepted and used for the job that they were procured for. There can also be instances where the equipment needs to be sent back upon arrival and inspection for various reasons. Maybe it doesn't meet the required specifications, for instance, which means that the rental process needs to then start all over again. The equipment is rented for a specified period. So when the time period expires, the equipment is picked up or collected. Sometimes an extension may be requested. This can be done via email or telephone based on the request. The supplier could either accept or reject that specific request. After a few days, once the equipment is picked up, the supplier sends an invoice to the clerk electronically. The clerk then confirms the invoice details if they match the rental order. If all checks out, the invoice is sent through to the finance department, who then action payment on that invoice. So, in essence, that is the BuildIT case study. Now, as we mentioned, we will be referring to this case study in order to learn the different aspects of business process management. So, in our example earlier of takealot.com, as well as in the BuildIT case study, you now have a sense of what a business process or business processes are, even before we provide a formal definition. And you can hopefully already see that business processes are not a foreign concept at all, but rather things that we interact with on a daily basis. So far, in answering the first learning outcome, we posed earlier as to what are the essential concepts behind business process management or BPM. At this point, firstly, without a doubt, you can say that business processes are an essential concept behind business process management. Secondly, the concept of value is important in business process management because these business processes need to be implemented in such a manner that they bring business value to the organization, to its customers, its employees, and so on. Thirdly, the other concept is the concept of managing these business processes in order to ensure that they consistently produce value and improve efficiency and effectiveness within the organization such that the business gains a competitive advantage against its competitors. As we proceed throughout the study unit or this chapter, we will discuss the other important aspects behind business process management. The second learning outcome regarding being able to describe the typical processes that are found in contemporary organizations, you can easily think about the Take-A-Lot example and the BuildIT case study again to see what some of the typical modern day business processes within an organization look like. The next learning outcome examines the basic ingredients of a business process and then we finally provide a formal definition of a business process and also a formal definition of business process management. From the business scenario that is presented for the BuildIT case study rental request process, we learn about a few key ingredients to a business process. These are, firstly, events, secondly, activities, thirdly, tasks, fourth, decision points, fifth, actors, and sixth, objects, which can be physical or informational, and lastly, the seventh one, outcomes. As we mentioned earlier, we can think about these as the fundamental building blocks for any business process.